back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back pickle biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Michael Bisping and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson have confirmed that neither of them will be fighting on the UFC London card. That is, I don't know, I mean, you can look at the bright side, I'll get into that in a second, but I mean, the bad news is, especially for London fans who have been looking for a big card, I mean, there were talks of Michael Bisping versus Vitor Belfort, that got scratched. There was talks of Michael Bisping versus Rashad Evans, that got scratched. There was talk of Darren Till versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, that got scratched, and now there's still talks of Darren Till versus Gunnar Nelson, but to be honest, that might be looking a little bleak. Now, John Kavanaugh did say that that Gunnar Nelson has accepted to fight Darren Till, but it may have been a little too late, as Darren Till came out and said he's down to fight Wonderboy Thompson, even if it means waiting for after the UFC London card. And so there's just a lot going on with this London card, a lot of fights that were rumored, a lot of fights that were even announced, as Dana White himself said that he wanted Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Darren Till for UFC London. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's father came out and said, actually, we're not going to be ready. So after that, we lost Darren Till, Wonderboy Thompson. We lost the Michael Bisping Vitor Belfort fight because even, we saw Uriah Hall had a seizure and was pulled out of his co-main event fight versus Vitor Belfort, who was going to be in his retirement fight. That left Vitor Belfort without an opponent for his retirement fight, so a lot of us thought it made perfect sense for a retirement rematch. Both Michael Bisping and Vitor Belfort had said that they will be retiring after their next fight, so it made perfect sense for a lot of us for Michael Bisping to fight Vitor Belfort at UFC London. Now, Michael Bisping came out and turned down the fight and said he would never give Vitor Belfort the satisfaction of a rematch, even though Vitor Belfort won the first fight. There's a lot of bad blood between these guys, and he also said he didn't want to go through the same lead up to his last fight, the same song and dance, him accusing the guy of being on steroids. People already knew what to expect if Michael Bisping were to fight Vitor Belfort. And he said for his last fight, he didn't want to go out, I guess, as the bad guy. Even if you go out and you're super respectful in your last fight, it's probably not going to change your legacy. When people look up Michael Bisping highlights or funny moments, they're going to see that epic trash talk. So even if you don't want to go in your last fight like that, it is what it is. He turned down the fight with Vitor Belfort. Then there were rumors of a Michael Bisping versus Rashad Evans fight rematch for UFC London. Michael Bisping went on his podcast and said, I'll either be announcing a fight very soon, or I'll let you guys know that I won't be fighting. A lot of people want to see me fight at UFC London, but my family doesn't want me to fight again because of the injuries, my eye, they just don't want me to fight again. So I don't know if that means Michael Bisping won't ever fight again. I don't think that's the case. Hopefully he'll just fight later on down the line, on a bigger card. Now, the good news, the silver lining about Michael Bisping not fighting at UFC London is maybe as far as his medicals are concerned, he shouldn't have been fighting at UFC London anyway. A lot of people thought he should not have been medically cleared to fight Kelvin Gastelum after getting dropped and submitted by George St. Pierre. Michael Bisping then went on 3 to 4 short weeks later to fight Kelvin Gastelum, where he was knocked out in that fight. So it would only be 4 to 5 months after him being finished twice. So maybe March UFC London isn't the best date for Michael Bisping anyway. So maybe, I don't know if he'll be retiring without fighting again. I hope that's not the case, but he has somewhat alluded to that. Or hopefully Michael Bisping will just be fighting later down the year. I don't know if he'll be fighting in London, or maybe the UFC returns to London. Now, the one thing, the elephant in the room that I really didn't know about all of these rumors, if I would have knew this one fact going into all of these rumors, I might have been skeptical about them from the beginning. I didn't realize that UFC London, I believe this UFC London card is going to be Fight Pass. Now, actually, I'm going to pull it up and make sure, because that's actually a big deal. If this is on Fight Pass, let me go to UFC.com real fast. If this is on Fight Pass, I mean, a lot of these fights, are, I don't want to say too big for Fight Pass. I mean, we saw Donald Cerrone versus Darren Till on Fight Pass, but that was when Darren Till was relatively a nobody and Donald Cerrone was on a 3-fight losing streak. I mean, we're talking about pay-per-view worthy fights on Fight Pass here. If you know what I'm saying, Darren Till versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, that's fucking pay-per-view material. For us to be talking about that on Fight Pass, that's insane. But I didn't know this was on Fight Pass, and that's what somebody did say to me in the comments, so we'll see real fast. But even Darren Till versus Gunnar Nelson, which is one of the only fights that still might come through for UFC London. If this event is on Fight Pass, I really don't think that's going to happen. Let's see. London, March, UFC Fight Night. Okay, this might not be Fight Pass. Oh yeah, live on Fight Pass. Yeah, see, I didn't realize that. The fact that this is on UFC Fight Pass, man, a lot of these, that could be a factor preventing Michael Bisping from taking the fight. Like, I don't want my retirement fight, you know, to come on a 2-fight losing streak on Fight Pass. Like, I don't know. That just could factor into it. I didn't realize this was all on Fight Pass. So Darren Till versus Wonderboy, amazing fight. To me, a little too big for Fight Pass. I have Fight Pass. Of course, I would love to watch any of those fights on Fight Pass. But we were talking about fucking Darren Till versus Wonderboy, Michael Bisping versus Vitor Belfort. Like, main event and co-main event. That's way too big for Fight Pass. That's almost Big Fox material. So with that being said, hopefully we can still get Darren Till versus Gunnar Nelson. The only reason I say that is just because the logistics, man. Think about this. Gunnar Nelson from Ireland, Conor McGregor's teammate. Artem Lobov and Andre Fili also on the card. Conor McGregor's sure to be in attendance if that's the case. And in London versus Darren Till. So you'd have like Ireland versus London on St. Patrick's Day. That just seemed so dope to me. Whether you get, and that's why, you know, Darren Till versus Gunnar Nelson still makes sense. But the thing is, you know, it's on Fight Pass. John Kavanagh has said that that Gunnar Nelson accepted the fight. Now we have to wait on Darren Till. The last update on that though was Darren Till saying that he's willing to wait for a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight, even if it means he has to miss UFC London. So with that being the case, maybe Stephen Wonderboy Thompson might be ready for one of these bigger cards. You know, we got some huge cards coming up for MMA UFC this year. Champions versus champion fights, like 3 of them already lined up. Maybe we get Wonderboy Thompson versus Darren Till on one of those cards. But if not, Darren Till, I'm sure he would be down to fight Gunnar Nelson in London. I'm sure he would love to main event UFC London. We don't have a main event for it yet. But all I know is if Darren Till versus Gunnar Nelson doesn't happen, we might be looking at another, you know, Jimmy Manawa main event for UFC London, and I'm fine with that. I'm a fan of Jimmy Manawa, but I think the last time he main evented a card there, it might have been versus like Jan Blachowicz, and the fans complained that that was the main event. But this is a Fight Pass card. That sounds like a hell of a main event to me, and it's funny because I think they're actually going to be rematching on this card. I don't know who the main event's going to be. But with that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.